Well, greetings, people of the internet. Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. Today, a day in the life of an IT guy. Don't ya hate it when your UPS breaks? I sure do. So in the midst of all of this work I'm doing with solar, where the power is, constantly turning off and turning on, and as I test things and hook new stuff up, it's not the best time for the battery in your battery backup unit that runs your entire server rack to take a crap. And that's exactly what mine did. And if you know one thing about Unky Joe, it's that he is the king of cheap. And I come by that title naturally. Ask any family member, spousal unit, whatever you want to ask anyone. I'm the king of cheap. But, within reason. Look, I bought Victron equipment. That's not exactly cheap. Okay? But I spend my money wisely. I try to get as much bang for my buck, is my father's favorite saying. So what happened? The battery is 3 years old, and it's not holding a charge anymore, not for any length of time. So it went from, when we had the last time I replaced the battery was right after or right before the power failure we had in February. We had all the inches of snow and our water froze and power went out for days and they were turning it on. We had brownouts and neighbors were rescuing us with firewood and that kind of thing. My UPS would keep my rack running for about 35 minutes, which would give me more than enough time to shut everything down and then wait for the next power wave to come and they turn the power back on and bring it back up. So here we are 3 years later, and now my UPS, as soon as you unplug that thing from the wall, it's like, no. So as I was playing with these different inverters, the Victron, the EG4, and the power was going up and down, my UPS was bringing down everything in my rack, and that's not good. You don't want to do that on a regular basis. So it made it really painful to proceed with anything on the solar end of things because I couldn't depend on my network to stay up long enough to flip it over between different solar charging systems, right? So the king of cheap had to break down and get a battery. And the cheapest price I found for one of these batteries, the RBC7, was about $135. And that wasn't even for an APC branded, well, it'd be Schneider Electric now, but an APC branded battery, which I don't really care. APC, they buy their batteries from whoever. But I found, being the king of cheap, I wasn't going to pay $130 or $140 for the battery. I toyed with the idea of putting a LifePo 4 battery in there, but it's doable, but it would require, because it's a 24 volt, it's two 12 volt batteries put together. So it's a 24 volt system. So in theory, it was possible, but in practice, I had enough shit on my plate to deal with without having to rebuild my UPS. So I found a place online that had that battery brand new with a 5-year warranty of all things. And they had it for $97 shipped to my door. So I bought one and it got here, and let's go put it in. You can see what I went through. So this is backwards. I'm going to, I wanted to show you the label on the front of the battery. I got this from a company called Sigma. I'll try to remember to put the link down in the comment section so that y'all know. So it's a 24 volt, 18 amp hour. So my other batteries, my solar batteries, are 100 amp hours. So this is like what, 18% of 100 amp hours. So I'd have to do the math. So let's check the voltage, see how well charged it is. I don't know if you'll be able to see the display. I'll get it up there. Negative, negative, positive, positive. Let's see here. What do we got? We should have 25 volts. We do 25.5. So the battery's not fully charged. But once we put it in the UPS, plug it in, power it on, it will start charging the battery up to full capacity. So basically you just get your battery connection here, plug it in. Very hard to screw that up. I like to put this little thing on the top, this little chingamadero. It's to disconnect the battery connection. These are Anderson connectors. So, and then what you need to do is push the battery back in to its little house and hope it fits. Oh, they can be a little trying on one sole. Yeah, I think that's gonna do it. I think that'll work. So let's see now if this will close. Because this has to go in here like that. Yeah, has to go in there like that. Now you need to lift up on this a little bit to get this thing down in the slots. Come on, baby. It's a little bit of finesse to get these things in there. Yeah, this one's a little bit bent. Put that up there. Now that hopefully that battery is in all the way. There. Now. There we go. Now she in there. All I did was put a 2x4 underneath. It has these little tangs that need to go down into this piece here, so I just put a block of wood so it would not block them anymore. And then get your screws back in. Screwdriver here. There we go. All right. Very carefully. The bottom part goes on first. There are a couple little tabs here and here. They go in. Yep. It is in. Okay. So now, we take the power cord. We can plug that into some power. See if this is a bad thing, I'll explode or charge the battery, one of the two. Alright. I heard a click. That's probably a good thing. See what happens when we turn her on. Okay, it says the battery is fully charged. No load on it right now. It says it's online. But I wonder if it's actually powering anything right now. So, let's test to make sure the UPS function works. We'll plug a lamp into it. There we go. Let's plug this in. Alright. Got a lamp now. Let's see how it does when the power gets turned off. Alright, we shall see how long it lasts. Battery is working, but you notice we've already come down. We've already come down one notch here. So it is on battery. The fan is a-blowing. Look at this. You see this big dent on the top? Look at that. You see that? Right there? That's where the rack fell and hit the top of this battery backup. Fortunately, this cover is pretty thick and there's not much underneath here that could have been damaged. But alright, so I'm going to go ahead and let it sit here with the lamp on. You notice our second light just went out, so now we only have 3 lights left. I'm just going to do a 15-minute test on this. In fact, mute your microphone, or mute your speakers real quick. Alexa, set a 15-minute timer.
15 minutes, starting now.
Alright, so we'll let this run for 15 minutes, see if it lasts that long, and then we'll plug it back in, give it a full charge, and then we'll go hook it up at the rack. Alright, so it appears to have passed the 15-minute test, so I'm going to go ahead and plug it back in now and let this thing fully charge the battery. Alright, so let me come around here and plug it back into the power. Like so. Alright, we're back on utility power, and it should start charging the battery. So I'm going to let this thing come up to a full green bars again, and then what I will do is disconnect it, shut it off, and we will take it into the server room and connect our server equipment into it. Now, what we need to do is something called a runtime calibration. Anytime you change out a battery on a UPS, you need to hook your load up to it, your full load, and do what's called a runtime calibration. What that'll do is it'll try to exhaust the battery till it gets down to 5 or 10%. I don't recall exactly what the exact number is. And then it'll determine how long it could run with the load on the current battery that you have when it's fully charged. So that can be a long process, and it is what it is. But I'm going to let the battery come to a full charge again, and then we'll disconnect and we'll set it up in the server room and see what happens. Alright, so here's the UPS back in its home. I've run the runtime calibration test. So the runtime on this is about 10-15 minutes. I know previously when I had power failures a couple of years ago, it would run, this thing ran for like half an hour before it started powering everything down. So I don't know whether this new battery is a lower capacity or whether it's just not actually fully charged. It was fully charged. According to the UPS software, when I ran the calibration test, and I ran it at more than 20% load, it's got about a 35-40% load on it, as you can see. But I only got about 15 minutes of runtime before the calibration cut off and told me, hey, you get about 12 minutes worth of runtime. So I don't know what the deal is with that, but I'll come back and test it again at the end of the month just to see. Everything's plugged back into it. It's getting power up here off of the solar. The primary, the Victron system is where this panel and this plug are connected to. So it's getting solar power from my primary system, solar and battery power. The battery banks are down here. And yeah, so now I can plug and unplug my server rack and move it between different solar plugs, one here or one here. If I want it to be on the Victron system, I do it here, and if I want it to be on the EG4 system, I would plug it in here. But that gives me the ability to do that on the fly, so if I'm testing anything with my solar, it will no longer affect my network rack, which, by the way, is still on the wall and still running just fine. No worse for the wear. I did put a board, a backer on there rather than just have it screwed into plywood because this thing is heavy. It was heavy enough to put a dent in the top of the UPS. So there we go. Day in the life. This is stuff you're going to run into when you have technology in your home. That last battery probably lasts me 3-4 years. Okay, that installation wasn't too bad. It could have been a lot worse. What I noticed, and I hadn't noticed before, and as I went to pull the UPS out of that room that it's in, I noticed that huge divot in the top of the unit that I showed you, and I thought, oh no, what if, because you know what that was? That's from when the rack fell off the wall because Unky Joe put it on there with wallboard anchor, with sheetrock anchors, with sheetrock anchors, instead of, you know, putting a board across and drilling into the studs like I should have. I was in a hurry. And I didn't realize how heavy that little networking rack was on the wall. It's quite heavy. You saw the divot it left in the top of the UPS. And my fear was that it had damaged one of the circuit boards, and that's why the UPS started acting up. So, fingers crossed, I put the battery in, and as you can see, it all worked out, and it took a licking. You know, that UPS is probably 10 years old. I got that from a previous employer. Bought it off them. They were buying a new UPS. They bought a rack mounted, and so I made them an offer of like $50 or $60 for that UPS, and they're gonna have to pry it out of my cold dead hands because it's a tank. Takes a beating and keeps on going. And maybe one day I will put a LiFePO for battery, but that day is not today. But anyway, that's typical of what you're going to see in the day of a life of an IT guy. So we hope you found the video entertaining and informative as always. Please give us a big thumbs up down below and leave your comments down in the comments section. Let's see what else we want to tell you. Oh, subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and click that notification bell to be notified of new videos when they come out. Donate if you're so inclined, PayPal, Patreon, YouTube join function, or just become a YouTube premium member and get screwed right along with the rest of us. So I know parting with money these days is tough, all right? And I appreciate every penny folks spend on this channel and donate. And those that can't afford to, please don't think twice about it. I've been where you are, the king of cheap, and you gotta spend your money wisely. So if you can't afford to donate, don't feel bad for watching my videos. I do them here out of the goodness of my cold, dead black heart. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you for coming back to see this old guy day after day, week after week, month after month, and year after year. Some of y'all have been with me since the beginning, and I want you to know how much I appreciate that. So anyway, donate, don't donate. It really is no skin off my nose. I'm just glad you're here. Please don't hit the microphone stand. Please don't forget to come back and see us again. And also don't forget that we'll see you on the other side.